Howdy. I have a bit of a tutorial on the two Grenadiers from Suzuki Book 2. This is a tricky piece. It's got a lot going on in it, and so I wanted to break it down into a few of its parts. Left hand wise, we have the key of D minor for the first half of the piece, D major for the second half of the piece. There is a D minor scale written out in the book in the previous page. What I want you to notice is that on the E string, my first finger is low, my second finger is low, my third finger is in its usual place. On the A string, the first finger comes up, the second finger comes up, third finger stays where it is. So we have this on A, this on E, and you should try to get good at going back and forth completely, not just a little. If your first finger on the A string is a little bit low left over from when you're on the E, that's going to sound bad. If your first finger is a little bit high left over high from your A string, that's going to sound bad. Your second finger also has to change completely. So A string is this, E string is this. I recommend you just do that several times. All far apart, 2 and 3 touch, all far apart, 2 and 3 touch, all far apart, and 2 and 3 touch. So there's that. Now, there are also some double down bows. That's in measure number 10, measure number 14, and measure number 36. We have a down, down. This is accomplished not by stopping and continuing. It's done by lifting. Sometimes a piece of music will call for a very leisurely kind of a lift. You have plenty of time to do it. Maybe it's preceded by a really long bow stroke, and you have plenty of time to pick up your bow and put it down again. Other times, not so much. You may have no time, virtually no time to do it, and that's the case here. It's a quarter note and a quarter note and a half note, and there's no rest. So in that case, what you want to do is you want to make that family-sized pizza circle that you did for the more leisurely, lengthy kind of piece. You want to make this more like a tennis ball size, just a little tiny circle. It's also best done near the frog. If you try to put your bow down in the middle, you'll notice that it bounces. And if you put it down at the tip, you'll notice that it bounces. And if you put it down at the frog, you'll notice that it kind of just plunks down and sits there. It doesn't do a lot of bouncing right here. So it's a good spot to come back to. You might notice it's right about where my index finger is, almost. So I got my little tennis ball circles here. Okay, the other thing that is a good idea is put the bow on the string before you move it, for practice purposes. You know, when you get really, really good at it, it's going to look like they're both happening at the same time. But if you try to put it down and move down bow at the same time, you're likely to get a crash, crunch, a little bit of a bounce. But if you just put it down and then move it, put it down and then move it, it's clean. So I wanted to encourage you to put it down, breathe for a second, and then move your bow. You'll get to where you're faster and faster and faster, so that for all intents and purposes it's happening at the same time. But take it slow at the beginning. Okay, so there's that. Then we have the dotted quarter note, eighth note, that the eighth note has to be stopped, but they're in the same bow stroke. So we have down, stop, down. And we have up, stop, up, down, stop, down, up, stop, and go up. And without me talking, happens a lot in this piece. You got to make sure that bow really stops and that the first note is very obviously longer than the second note. It's 3 times as the size of the 8th note. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there you go. I'm going to play a little bit of the beginning of the piece. I'll probably stop at that point. I might even talk my way through this. So I'm starting out with my hands in this position. I'm going to be shifting to this position. Then I'm going back to that. Staying here on the E string. And my little tennis ball bow circle. Careful of this 4th finger here.